Mr. Levine.
Hey, so I'm Jeff. I have a medical device startup that's building an intraoperative machine vision platform to share data. It's a common data set between surgeon and OR technologies, hopefully to improve navigation and the excision of all the cancer. And love this group. I've met, I think, about 4 or 5 people now that we're engaged with and starting to work with. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Oh, he loves that. York.
Hello, I'm Jorg, calling from my car, so I get the award for dedication this morning. I work for and I also own a product development company doing all sorts of medical device development, both in the U.S. and offshore in Ukraine, and been involved in counseling startups and mentoring startups most of my career. So that's my background.
Michelle Lott, I wanted you on today to give a quick plug to what we did this week, and you're on mute. And tell us why we did what we did and why it's important, and then I'm going to give folks the link.
Okay. My name is Michelle Lott. I own Lean RAQA. We specialize in regulatory affairs and quality systems for primarily medical device but other industries regulated by the FDA as well. So this week, Joe and I had a big campaign and effort announcement on LinkedIn, amongst other places, about the down classification of by FDA of 91 fairly moderate to high risk devices to propose to exempt them from 510Ks. They included implantable devices, antiviral, antibacterial masks, software for cancer detection, devices that have been recently down classified from class 3 to class 2, and they were proposing to further down classify them to exempt them from 510K. It was really a shocking combination of fairly high risk devices to remove them from FDA oversight.
Exactly.
And so what I just put in the chat is a link to a blog post, as well as a file for you all, kindly, to download. It's an Excel file. It'll go directly onto your desktop. And then you can click on the second one, leanraqa.com comment, and it will open up to a place where you can just upload that file, tell them your name, and hit submit. And we want to bombard with this comment of, dear idiots, please undo this deleterious ruling before people. Have I got it?
Exactly. So that file has all 91 devices listed. If my team, and this isn't just my opinion, I evaluated all my senior consultants, if my team agrees with that down classification or not, and if we have any specific comments. It also shows you how many devices have ever been cleared underneath that product code, which debunks some of FDA's logic and why they're down classifying them.
Well,
Michelle, you guys could go and comment on the public register.
I need to respond to your thing, Michelle. So sorry, I will do that today. Been swamped in proposals, but yeah, FDA didn't propose it. It was DHSS. FDA never signed off on that, really.
What does that mean?
So Alex Azar ran that through. Stephen Hahn at FDA never officially signed that proposed rule.
But is it not true that if we don't get them to double think what they did, that on March 16th it becomes a final rule and it's
potentially they have to consider comments. So no, I agree. I raised the criteria in LinkedIn. Exactly. No, it was just so people think FDA did, but it wasn't really management at FDA at the time.
Michelle, have you reached out to any trade associations that might have a play on Capitol Hill?
I have not, but that is a great idea. I know somebody.
So I would send you to a group I used to work for called HIDA. Their government affairs and advocacy has truly, become the point of their spear, so to speak. And then obviously you want to dial in AdvaMed, just for nothing other than to be, brought up where they are or alert them, one of the two. But they have pretty strong voices on Capitol Hill right now.
Is it like HIDEF?
FDA.
No, HIDA, the Health Industry Distributors Association.
Okay. Okay.
Linda Rouse O'Neill is who you'd want to get a hold of there.
Either Ian or I can introduce you. She came to my very first 10X when Ian couldn't make it.
I would
Well,
appreciate
no,
it.
no, you couldn't afford me.
I know, but now I can.
Yes.
How I've appreciated and you've depreciated in that time. Alan Gilbert, you have got the biggest head and fake zoom on the screen. So wow, I love that effect. That was great. Please speak and tell us about you.
So I'm Alan Gilbert. I'm a serial entrepreneur, mission-driven serial entrepreneur. I'm currently the CEO of a company focused on artificial intelligence and digital therapeutics for both multiple sclerosis and falls risk. Additionally, I do go-to-market strategies for a bunch of different companies. One I'm helping is a vaccine tracking consortium that we're working at both the state and local levels. So we're working in with a local division in Pennsylvania and hope to have a bunch of other ones across different states where we do vaccine tracking, vaccine administration, checking for adverse reactions, vaccine billing, using blockchain as well. Thank you.
Alan will be our guest speaker on April 2nd. Tell us about that. And Alan, quickly, do you think that you would want distribution through something through an NDC? I'm trying to figure that out.
Absolutely, that sounds very interesting. And also some of the work that we're doing at a company called Liquid Smarts, which is helping one of the constituents, does a lot with group purchasing and with device manufacturers specifically. So I think there's tremendous synergies there.
I forgot.
Oh, okay.
Gunter.
I'm sorry?
I forgot that you're hanging out with Gunter.
Correct.
Elizabeth Friedman, you want to come back? Without your mute button?
Okay, hello there. We have been, we're in Texas and we just got our internet today after a week. It felt like a month.
Wow.
So anyway, here we are and I have my guest with me who's our inventor.
Hello, inventor. Name?
Yes,
Hi, David Friedman.
David Friedman.
Oh, any relation?
Yes.
Slightly, yes. He's our inventor. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, make him talk. He has an accent.
I'm a South African originally.
Well, welcome.
I'm glad to be here. I've been waiting for a long time to have the time to come in.
What did you invent?
Well, we have two products. One is a company called Safen, which is a way of identifying contents of IV tubing without actually writing on the tube, and for high-risk medications and the like. And I'm sure Elizabeth has discussed that in the past. And the other is we're modifying a stethoscope in various ways. And the first is, this company is called Clink. And the first is the attachment of a very small light that is that's always there. It's waterproof. It can be disinfected. It lasts for approximately about a year, and it does not really change the weight of the stethoscope. And it can be turned on and off. There's no switch. It's just a sensitive button. So it's waterproof with gloves. And so it's ideal for situations where there's high risk of infection and so on.
Thank you very much.
And I'm an oncologist, hematologist oncologist. So I'm in touch with patients who have a variety of problems.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. And Greg Solid, we missed you on that go round.
Hi, Ian. I help organizations demonstrate the value of their product or device.
Okay, excellent.
Greg was our speaker last week, and his talk is up on our archive channel. Joanne Evans, 50% of the time you want to talk, 50% you don't. If you want to talk, say hi, and if you don't, go away. Okay, and we're going to go with go away, I think. Okay, so as you can see, I've begun to peel off people so we can get to, by the way, Ian, I don't do the, hey, everybody, say who you are, but you're our special guest, and I wanted you to kind of get a sense of who we had in the room.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I got dressed up for you today. I don't typically wear a jacket to these things.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me.
I think folks will appreciate, and especially those who know me, that I've led the group. It'll be 10 years this December, and no offense to the other 360,000 members, but you have some favorites. You meet folks along the way, and
sure,
Ian was just an early favorite. First, he's undeniably handsome. Ladies, can we get an agreement on that? And he's wicked smart in what he does, and he's been my go-to for matters of distribution for a long time, and now he's got like a major gig doing exactly that. He used to be at HIDA, as he mentioned, which is like the place for distribution conversations for medical device manufacturers. And how can I sell more of my stuff is a go-to question that I field all the time. And I'm like, talk to Ian. And then he got like really busy and famous, and he couldn't like take all the calls, and I had to find other people. But the point here is that Ian was the guy. And I also, before I ask you a real question to kick it off, want to share our special story, which when it happened was absolutely mortifying for me. And now I celebrate as part of Page lore, and how Ian will always have a place here in the family. And you're looking at me like, I don't know what story you're about.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think I've told it to you like 2 or 3 times now. So it's had much more of an impact on me than it has on you. You must be like scarred from things like this.
Well, I did grow up with the last name Fardy, so there's quite a bit of scarring.
Exactly the point of the story. So
that was my softball to you. That was my softball to you.
I, as many of you know, I like to take phone calls in the car. It's very efficient. I'm going somewhere and I'm having a business conversation. And one of the times I was driving my Zachary, then age, I don't know, 6, 8, who knows, to school. And I called Ian. And I think instead of saying, hello, Ian, I just, was cheerful. It was morning. I was ready to go. I was like, Fardy. And my Zachary goes, Fardy. And I was mortified. I was absolutely mortified. And I was like, and I had to apologize, and he was like, it's fine. But I was like, okay. So now we use your name here in the house very affectionately to celebrate how stupid our children are.
Well, I appreciate it. And I used to give out prizes for people who could come up with a new joke that involved my last name, but it is what it is. And, I'm glad it's spoken of fondly in your house.
It is. It is. I am curious to know who won like the best prize for the best joke involving your last name, but perhaps it's scarring and we don't know.
Yeah, let's not go down that road.
Okay. I will guess that more than half the folks on this call have never heard of NDC. Does it stand for something?
Absolutely. So NDC stands for National Distribution and Contracting. We're considered a master distributor. Dating back to 1953, co-op was created and made up of independent distributors primarily, who banded together to access certain manufacturers' products, either due to product minimums, volume minimums, to achieve better pricing, and thus NDC was born.
So is it like an economies of scale thing for small distributors?
Well, we're now considered to be the 5th largest national distributor in North America. And the way we're described is, instead of sort of warehouses, or instead of areas throughout the US that all might be with a McKesson or an Owens & Minor, our channel is made up of independent distributors. So when I'm talking to people who are really, my elevator speech, we buy by the container load. We break it down into the individual orders based on our 1,500 distributor customers. Through pallet architecture, they get their weekly orders, which may consist of 15 to 20 different manufacturers' products in the quantity that they require to service their customers each week. So we're accessing products at a volume and a price that allows the independent distributor to compete on a national level. Through that, however, we've also created an unbelievable partnership with manufacturers to help them with customers who may not be reaching their minimums to be their supply channel. And also we do business with some national companies, only because our 6 warehouses throughout the United States can handle some better volume than maybe their local warehouse in that area. So we are Switzerland. We service all and do it to the best of our ability.
Definitely taught me some new things there. A couple of questions. First, the N, national, US only?
No, we're international, but we've just never shook that name. In fact, it's kind of like IBM. You know, NDC has kind of become, the acronym has become the name. But no, we are international, primarily Canada, Puerto Rico, you know, offshores in the US.
So we're not going to find you in Eurasia.
No.
Okay, so you're national.
Not at this point.
You're national and friends.
Correct.
And that's, you don't need to mess the acronym for that.
Right.
The second is I think I learned a new thing about you that, and I was maybe thinking about you wrong, or you still do what I used to think and you do something else now. I used to think that you were like the umbrella association that 1,500 mom and pops subscribe to, and in exchange for their fees, you give them an economy of scale or access to marketing and sales and referrals and leads that they otherwise would not have, so that they themselves would fulfill an order. Is that not true at all?
No, it is true in some aspects. So NDC is made up of what we call members who are able to access products and pricing at a different level than what we call non-members. They have an actual name, Med Plus. And it's really like membership has its benefits. So a member company can access a number of those things you touched on, absolutely. And those are services we do provide for them. We used to have a smaller group. In the last 10 months, our non-member or Med Plus group has certainly grown. And that allows us to serve people from tattoo parlors, TSA, anyone who might now utilize or need to utilize medical products, primarily med-surg in that non-member area. They're able to access it, not to the same benefits as a member, but they're able to access our warehouse as well.
Okay, so now I think your primary value prop is that, and I may have this completely wrong, that basically you stock inventory from smaller distributors so that folks who need inventory in bulk come to you, and you're able to aggregate or break down to the quantities that we need. So basically you distribute to me and you source product from smaller distributors?
No. So the one side of us is all manufacturers. So we source product from manufacturers, or we inventory product from manufacturers, make them available down the channel to distributors. You would say, you know, in the sophistication level of our distributor partners is, yes, we do have some mom and pops, but we also have some incredibly sophisticated distributors as well, who are quite large.
Oh,
so we do service any distributor.
Okay, I had thought that it was just people who were way too small to go it alone need an NDC to be part of the club and even get the visibility they need to do anything. No,
we do service them and we do love them. And they do play an important role in distribution, especially, you know, with the pandemic, getting the product to those rural areas. But no, we have some extremely large medical product distributors accessing our warehouse.
So then is your main thing, you do an economy of scale that your customers could never do?
Correct.
And that your business model is the margin between the prices you get and the prices you sell at?
Well, it depends. So there is a couple of models that manufacturers can access through us. There's a fee for service model. So it doesn't do us any good to raise the price to a distributor. They need to be able to compete at the end user on the same level as a national company or a competitor. So we do have a fee for service model that allows us to buy and sell the product at the same price.
Meaning that they're paying a subscription just for access.
So the fee for service model is more up the channel to the manufacturer. So some of the other things we do for them, we do have our own GPO. It's called New Edge. But we also handle all of the billing, all of the reimbursements, all of the rebates down the channel. So the manufacturer gets one invoice episode from us. The distributor gets one invoice episode from us. And we do all of the transactional work here at NDC. So it's incredibly efficient for both a manufacturer to access 1,500 distributors through us, as opposed to creating 1,500 different invoice and rebate episodes, delivery episodes, pick and pack episodes. We do all that on behalf of the manufacturer. And then in turn, the distributor, same way, they're able to access
the
500 manufacturers.
Manufacturer for the service,
Correct.
All that shit.
Correct.
That's the main business model.
We treat manufacturers as customers because that model has become so popular.
Yeah,
we are still, you know, the medical product distribution community is still where we have a solution that currently no other company is able to provide.
Okay, so tell me about IMCO, because back in cardiac science days, now 10 years, next month, 10 years I've been on my own. Oh, Ian, don't type. We don't do that. We answer publicly.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm going to bring Alan on. Oh, well,
so IMCO is a phenomenal organization. Bill McLaughlin Sr. Recently sold it to Bill McLaughlin Jr. and his wife, Ashley. Love him dearly.
Sold it to his child?
Sold it.
Yeah, to his child.
Yeah.
Who does that? I'm like Zachary here. When I'm dead, everything is yours. Who sells it to their child?
That's probably a better question for them. However, so back in the co-op day, there was intense competition between NDC and IMCO because we were essentially
interchangeably back when I was
correct
asked by my medical device manufacturer to prepare promotions. There was Cardinal Health, and then there was, you know, I forget the second one, McKesson, and then there was NDC and IMCO.
Yeah.
And like at the same time, like, let's do an NDC and IMCO thing.
Yep, absolutely. And often spoken in the same breath. They have a little different, as things have evolved. We have 6 warehouses throughout the United States. We provide a lot of these services back to the manufacturer, and IMCO has gone in a different path to service their customers. They contract with manufacturers, and they do have distributor members as well. But it's really the old day of the intense competition has really grown in 2 different directions. We have a large number of IMCO distributors that are now accessing our warehouse as well, giving them the choice to find the best product at the best price to serve their customer, which is generally at any point of care, whether it be hospital, physician's office, rehab. NDC is a large player in the dental community, veterinarian community, anywhere care is given, right down to the home. So 2 years ago, we also made an acquisition of a company called Preferred Medical that now allows us to distribute right down to the patient's bedside in the house, or hospice, LTC, STC, wherever that patient might be, whether it be an individual or through a home health supply company, home health agency that we can contract with as well.
May I understand then, what is IMCO's main value prop now, if it's not the same as yours?
Jeepers, I don't know if I can speak for them on what their value prop is, but it would be along the lines of access. They too buy in very large quantities, or they do partner with a warehousing group that buys in large quantities and makes it available to independent distributors as well.
You said you're number 5, Cardinal, McKesson, Owens and Minor.
Medline, Henry Schein.
Wow. And then, and Shine, so you're number 6?
There could be a tie in there somewhere.
Okay. All right, Alan writes, is NDC distribution focused mainly on hospital, or do they distribute to DME and HME and other channels?
We distribute to all channels. Our strength is currently, so if you were to break down our business, physician office is by the large part our sweet spot, but we deliver to all points of care right now: hospice, HMEs, DMEs, physicians' offices, anywhere that medical products are needed, we are able to distribute.
Thank you. Kevin is our speaker next week. Should he intrigue you, you're welcome to come back. We do this every week around this time. Kevin?
I was just wondering on your model if you're just selling branded products, or are you also private label under your own brands?
So 10 years ago, there was, even in the industry 10 years ago, there was a huge private label play, and a lot of medical manufacturers and distributors are doing everything from sourcing their own products now through the private label strategy. NDC is brand centric. We believe that to represent the manufacturers with that rationalization play that I spoke of, it would not behoove us to have a competitive brand. That being said, the dental industry is incredibly private labeled. So there is 2 brands that we carry. There's no new products being introduced in either of those brands that I'm aware of. Pro Advantage is our private label that sits on the medical side, and Koala is our private label that sits on the dental side. But there's no strategy around growing those. And in fact, we've been sort of downplaying those to a point where hopefully at some point they won't exist.
Yeah, I was just curious because looking at some of the other big guys, particularly somebody like Medline, they have made a push over the last couple of years to become more and more vertically integrated, even down to the manufacturing side, to put everything under their own name and under their own control. So I was just wondering, what your strategy was.
No, you nailed it. And Medline's play, they started as a textile manufacturer, so their manufacturing experience is well down the road. I'll say 15 years ago, they were like, I can't believe they're switching everything to private label and making their own vertical market. And now they probably do it better than anyone else, especially for something that we just went through, able to control the product from point of creation to point of use was a valuable asset to literally save some lives.
Yeah. And actually for some of the things that I've worked with them on, it just so happens that they also had been, simultaneously making a push to do a lot of that domestic manufacturing versus overseas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing that a lot now through other manufacturers. I had a call with B. Braun the other day, and they are opening up a second manufacturing plant in Daytona that will allow not only for redundancy, but also full care within the U.S. borders should anything happen again with IV solutions.
Yeah. That's one of the things that when I talk next week, it's one of the things that for us in our business model we've kind of been wrestling with. Initially our concerns with overseas was more related to losing control of IP, because we had talked to people that wanted to do a tech transfer to manufacturing sites, particularly in China. But now, in light of all the supply chain issues, that's actually maybe more of a concern than the actual IP concern. Is, can you get it here? Whether the other countries put export controls on and won't let you ship, or like right now you can't find a shipping container to put your goods in, even if you want to ship it.
No, you nailed it. Big item that just came out is there's not enough containers going back overseas for the product. And I think it's category specific as well. So I think manufacturing overseas for some categories is dependable. Maybe dependable is not the right word, but if you recall, probably 3 or 4 months ago, COVID hit one of the few manufacturing plants for non-latex gloves over in China, and 1,500 workers were laid off, which just decimated that's our number one needed product right now is gloves. People think it's masks, but it's gloves right now is what we're struggling with.
Yeah, that was Molnike, right? I think that had the problem, or somebody else.
No, it's Wu Chang. It's so there's 5 plants over in China that manufacture gloves, and they really hold the market to all of the other manufactured gloves. So many of the manufacturers get their gloves from the same plant, and this was the largest of the plants that got hit with a string of the virus and shut down. So essentially, when that plant shut down, 5 manufacturers shut down at the same time, and then China Customs, stopped all containers from leaving. And then you saw yesterday on the news, 1 million masks just got pulled off the line for being fraudulent. So it's a very tricky situation right now dealing overseas.
Yeah. A reminder for you friends at home, this is why I love Friday mornings so much. What a great conversation. Thank you. Jonathan Saul, it looks like you shaved.
I did shave.
And was that just because you
Can you hear me okay? I'm having some connectivity issues.
You are, so maybe you should get your question out first before I needle you about your personal hygiene. All right, well, his question was, how do you see Amazon changing your business or challenging?
So look, they're $1.2 billion a day in revenue. So they will be able to find a way. We've worked very closely. I worked very closely with Amazon at HIDA. Start dating back to Jennifer Stockman, who's a wonderful, wonderful person. She was the genesis of the MedSurge push. We've worked many meetings with Amazon here at NDC to see if there's a solution. Last time I looked at Amazon, so Amazon started with a play in the acute market. And if any of us receive products and services from Amazon, you don't get one big box with everything that you ordered. So they apparently are still struggling with finding that hospitals want one delivery, and they want that one delivery Tuesday at 10 o'clock, and they want it in a tractor trailer, and they want one delivery episode, delivery invoice. I know Amazon has struggled a little bit with that demand in the acute market. Physicians market, I think their strongest play recently has been sort of in the shoulder items associated with a physician's office, not necessarily the medical products, but some of the Jansan that has gone along with what an order would be. So will they get there? I do not doubt it. If they want to bad enough, they will get there. But we believe they will be another player in the industry, as opposed to they've had to make huge strides with contract pricing. They've had to make huge strides with licenses online, HIPAA codes, accessing fraudulent product. They've struggled the last few weeks with their battery issue that's going on, where batteries that are not allowed to be sold are still being sold and promoted. So they've got some of their own bells and whistles to straighten out, or some of their own issues to straighten out. But I think it's inevitable they'll be there at some point in time. But they will be another player in the medical product distribution channel. I don't think they will ever be the player.
Eddie's much, much warmer than he was last week. Last week, he was at his very, very poor son's house, and his son chose to go without heat.
Because now at university, he has to pay his own bills. So he's like, dropped 15 pounds. All the money goes into alcohol. No. So my question was the nursing home market, and I know that you used a lot of acronyms, so maybe you've already referred to it, but it's also because I have a bit of personal experience with my mother there, with so many different people. Then they have their own healthcare things, and then the nursing home systems. How does all that work?
Well, generally nursing homes will have a single purchaser associated with it. If it's a big bed nursing home or multi-franchise nursing home, it really works no different than another point of care. The actual insurance, if that's what you're referring to, for the different patients within the home, we don't get down to that bedside billing. We're not a billing company. We're incredibly efficient at getting whatever product you need in whatever quantity you want to wherever you need it. That's kind of what we do. So we don't do billing at the nursing home level.
Well, I'd love to have an offline with you about our product and where we're going, because understanding
Absolutely.
how all that works would be is really interesting.
Yeah, happy to do it.
So just to refresh you, Eddie's made somewhat of a penis straw. It's a catheter, and it allows men with urinary retention to relieve themselves somewhat naturally with the use of a magnet. By placing the magnet near the scrotum, the pee is released, otherwise it's retained.
Yeah, I would love to learn more about that product, and I can certainly put you in touch with the supplier relations, is what we call them here, who sort of filter through the manufacturer request to sort of be a part of our warehouse.
All you need to do now, Eddie, is make the thing and get it approved.
We're working on that very thing right now.
Okay, Ginger, you're on mute, love. You're on.
Now I'm on. Sorry, I had to find the mute button on this platform. Anyway, got two screens going. So my question is, how do you control, I assume like all the big distributors we used to work with when I was at 3M, that you have all the state licenses and local licenses, and how do you control if you sub-distribute through mom and pops? How do you check on there?
Well, anyone who is a either a member, as I said, or a Med Plus, they do have to file licenses with us.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, because that's certainly a lot of people looking for, well, I had looked for a client. Right now they're on a temporary, potentially with Cardinal, but that's temporary because they didn't really know what their strategy was going to be. And they'd run into a lot of people, and they said, oh no, we've never had to have a license. We've never been caught. And I'm like, well,
that's okay. I once had a customer in Hawaii who said the medical device tax did not apply to them because they weren't continental. So yeah, and that speaks a little bit to the sophistication of the customer that I spoke of. So we have some customers that aren't as sophisticated as others, but and also there's a number of products with restricted sales access. So there's various levels of licenses required depending on what product you're accessing from the warehouse.
Well, and exactly. And I, so I worked with CT scanners, and we had to have any and everybody and their grandmother certified for installing and demonstrating and selling and servicing. And so.
Yep. No, absolutely. And then even, with California and some of the restrictions in California we're going through, we do get a little involved with labeling, co-labeling and adding, but for to purchase any sort of restricted medical product from us, a license has to be filed.
Okay.
Thanks, Ginge. I added Josue. He was late to the "Hey, everybody, introduce yourself" party, but he has very relevant experience. Would you kindly tell the folks at home, Josue, what you do for a living?
Yeah, work for a consulting company based in Mexico, market access for medical devices in Mexico. So we have clients, foreign clients, and also we focus on the national distributors in Mexico and also manufacturers. And we've actually have some leads wanting to access the American market. And they have questions of how would I do that? How would I find distributors? So yeah, I'd love to talk to you about this.
Well, that would be us. That would be us. It could also be IMCO. It would, so
not the ones that are bigger than you. Why did you not mention them?
Who?
Not the 4 or 5 that are bigger than you.
Well, so that would be for a new manufacturer, I would say the red tape in order to get into the warehouse for Cardinal, McKesson, Henry Schein, Medline, and then you're accessing one large distributor who serves a lot more competitive products against their private label and such. Whereas NDC and IMCO, what we do is we would give you the access to 1,500 different distributors in different categories and different markets. So there's a little more matching there that might occur between the two. And what generally people refer to us as is buying groups. But the best solution for you would be to talk to both of us about sort of the pull of the product. The other thing we're not real good at, we're not really good at creating customers. So new products, we partner with our manufacturers to really pull that product through to the end user. We do not buy a container of new product and then we go out and market it on behalf of anyone other than the manufacturer, if that makes sense.
Right, right. Yeah, in Mexico, you have to follow a standard of good practices for storing and distribution. I don't know if that's something familiar in the US that you need to follow in order to distribute and store medical devices.
Without hesitation. So we have cold storage. We have, right now we're distributing the vaccine, which comes with its own challenges of temperature control. We're dealing with our warehouse in Waco that's lost power, and some products, IV solutions, you know, all these products have sort of different care and containers and requirements around storing the product. So that is absolutely something that we look after.
Did you say
I'll contact you.
I'm sorry?
Did you say solutions?
IV solutions.
I thought you were telling me something internet-y there.
I can go there as well, but no, I said IV solutions.
Okay, if there's something material there that's new, that's, you know, since this internet thing took off, besides like ordering and the like, is there anything?
Well, you know, the craziest thing we've seen is our digital marketing analytics have probably done more in the last 10 months than they had in the last 5 years. So pivoting our, what is that? So the sales reps aren't allowed into the physician's offices right now.
Clearly.
So for them to work with their customers, there's this whole new what we're doing here today. But they're also running out of opportunities and what to talk to them and how to show samples and demonstrate product and all of those things. So we've expanded our digital marketing to allow the distributor sales rep to bring that to their customer. So they can sit down with their customer and demo a product through our digital marketing portal.
Isn't that just Zoom?
Well, sometimes yes. I've been blown away at how many corporations have banned Zoom from their corporate platforms. So we were doing a number of Zoom.
What? Something like GoToMeeting?
So Microsoft Teams seems to be the play for corporations, large corporations. So our virtual trade show back in October accessed the Zoom platform. And we had to do a little bit of behind the scenes work so that you didn't need an account. You really just clicked on a link like we've all done here today. But some people had a little trouble accessing it from their corporate computers.
Okay. All right. Well, I was using Zoom as a verb there more than as a brand.
Sure.
But in essence, virtual meetings like everybody else.
Yeah, except, you know, think of how many products are in a doctor's office, how much time the doctor has. It's become quite a challenge for
more than carrying the bag, driving to the doctor's office, waiting and hoping to catch him between patients, right?
Most likely, but you know, this industry has always been touted as it's been built on the relationship industry, not only up the channel distributors to manufacturers, but also, you know, the distributor to his customer was a big thing. When physician consolidation occurred 4 or 5 years ago, there's that big concern that the hospitals would be making all the purchases on behalf of the physician and those relationships would be terminated. We didn't see that happen. Point of fact, McKesson is probably now the largest, and they primarily deal in the physician market. So, you know, giving them that opportunity, training them, everything for us is behind the firewall. So you can't access any of that in front of a firewall for every reason that you can imagine. But it's been a big push. We used to have some documents that were print only, our incentive catalogs and our promotions. Anybody who's been around a while might know I'm talking about what used to be called spiffs. And that had to move to full digital, but that gave us an opportunity. So now it's not a PDF, it's a living, breathing document with videos and explanations and details on the products and those types of things. So that's kind of a silver lining that has grown out of moving quickly into a digital world.
Jan, do you want to pipe in your quick comment? We can neither see nor hear you.
Well, I was just making a comment about Zoom. There's evidently Chinese behind it somehow, and all government agencies will not allow it. And some of the big corporations, because it's a window into their electronics, so to steal their data. So they're all worried about that.
Jan's hair is wet, apparently, just got out of the shower. We will not be seeing Jan today.
Yeah, you're not going to see me. Sorry.
Hey, Houston, will you come on, or is your hair wet? I don't know. Come on, Nikki. Is your hair wet? Your hair looks dry. Oh, come on, man. I don't know if you have anything to say, but I haven't seen you in so long. I miss you. Hey, look, you decorated your little room there.
Yeah, I decorated it with a thing for my bike and a desk for my full-time job. And yeah, and my hair is great.
People haven't seen you in so long. What do you do again?
I work now full-time for Boston Scientific. Global health economics and market access.
Market access, that's kind of distribution-y.
Sort of. Yeah, our team really focuses on working with principally the provider and hospital and crafting health economic arguments for them to say, hey, our competition is this good and costs this much, but we're this good and cost this much. I'm trying to pivot that more toward the payer to say, yours truly isn't necessarily interested in physicians and hospitals. I am interested in insurance companies. They're the ones that hold the bag. They have the money. They're my customer. And if you've ever heard me talk on this before, they're not the bad guy. The insurance company is the one that holds the money, and they are my customer. So I'm slowly trying my best to pivot my team from focusing strictly on hospitals and physicians to now starting to pivot our health economic argument towards insurance companies. Because if I can do that, I almost by default give physicians and hospitals what they want, but it's not always the other way around. So anyway, there you go.
Ian, you could do worse than to engage Nick to give a presentation to any number of your constituents.
I would certainly like to learn more. The insurance play is obviously a big thing. It's not something that we're deep into, but would love to learn more.
You bet. You bet.
Thanks, Nikki. Everyone good at home? Hey, is the baby awake?
If she is.
Go get the baby.
She's cute.
That's what we all came for.
If she's not, I'll wake her up.
Okay, I think that's appropriate.
I do too.
Josue, before I give you the mic back, Maya has a question if she can come on real quick. I just promoted her. There she is. Maya, you had a question for Ian?
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering if you work with distributors for laser therapy equipment too?
When you introduced yourself, I made a note of that. It's, like I said, we have 1,500 distributors and 500 manufacturers that we work with. I would probably have to look at that category specifically. And some of that is because, look, in the last 10 months, we're, all PPE all the time, trying to handle allocations and everything like that. But I did make a note to see where we are with laser therapy. So I would ask that you check back with me on that specific category.
What's your email address? She can reach you directly.
Yeah, it is Fardy, F as in Fred, ARD as in David, Y, at ndc-inc.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
I remember any sales that go through that channel, I get 50% because it happened here. We talked about this.
Pre-invoice, Maria, Maya, pre-invoice.
Joe, I can't wake her up, but look, there she is.
Oh, so we're just getting baby monitor? Come on, man. At least color baby monitor.
Cute. How old is she?
She's 7 months. And we bought Google Nest Cams. So the Chinese are also watching her as we speak.
Oh, for goodness sake.
They're getting it from Zoom and from Google.
Wow.
So I'll
There's
keep
a
it.
lot of information about Lady, most of which is like, is that her real name or is that like a
Yeah.
proxy
No,
for like?
we did name her Lady, and it was very avant-garde hippie of us that will regret it if she marries anyone whose last name is a noun. But for now, it's cute.
She has a lot of explaining to do for the rest of her natural days. I personally, I was rooting for Jane.
Nah, boo.
Oh, come on, Eddie's last name is
Boo,
Jane, so please be nice. All right, let's get back to the business of business. Josue, you were saying intelligent things and then I just kind of.
I'll connect with you, Ian, for sure. There's Mexican manufacturers that want to get access to the U.S. market, and they do need to find reputable distributors to make that happen successfully.
Yeah, I'm happy to walk you through what we require to take it to the next step. Happy to do it.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
But I'm curious, Josue, how would you have? I mean, I'm delighted, and this is what gives me great joy to facilitate, introductions like this. But what was your approach? Now you have a guy, and he could really help. But what were you doing? How were you helping Mexican manufacturers looking for more distribution in the U.S.?
Yeah, so basically there are companies contacting us, Mexican companies that manufacture medical devices or even PPE right now. And they want to find distribution channels or distribution partners in the US. So that's where we would come in and facilitate that and do intelligence work or market access work for them in the US. And it's just a starting phase. We don't know which really the actors are in the US. So there is a need for Mexican companies to sell their products into the US.
Okay, thank you. And you were a guest of this broadcast, and Ian, if it's of interest, I can get you a link to his presentation. You can watch it and
yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
Jonathan Saul, you persist. Are you more internet stable now? We have no sound from you and no voice, pardon me, and no picture.
I think it's stable now.
Can we see you?
Let's try.
There we go.
All right.
You are back. You had something else to contribute. Maybe.
Poor guy struggling in his car.
Jonathan Saul.
Industry.
What?
Hi, Ian. In terms of Amazon entering into the distribution business of medical devices, I'd love to know your take on what's happening and how that will influence NDC's business.
Oh man, he answered that already. You tuned out for all of it. You're gonna have to watch the recording. Sorry, man. We're gonna.
Apologies.
That's all.
No worries, no worries. And I'm happy to talk to you offline if you would like to do that as well.
Jonathan Saul
That'd be great. By the way, we work with NDC on one of our projects with rapid antigen testing. So we're very happy with the extension of getting those rapid tests to more and more people. So that's been a great relationship.
Well, thank you for your business and partnership, and thanks that your internet held up for you to say that perfectly.
Jonathan, with whom else are you distributing?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. What?
With whom else? You're working with NDC. Are you working with any of the others Ian mentioned on the call?
Yeah, so we're working with McKesson. We're working with some of the large distribution players, as well as what I would call like a special channel or some kind of unique relationship. But I think that what NDC brings to the table is really getting that extension. I mean, if you have a product that needs to go out fast, we need pallets. Couldn't wait for breaking things down, and so getting the product that's
So I think what he's referring to is our ability to break down a large volume of product and get it to those that need it through our distribution channel. It has proved to be a good solution for him and that particular product line, especially.
Yeah. I just, I see how challenging it is from a manufacturing standpoint, and I see what you mean about, being the manufacturer is like almost a customer as well as your other customers. You really do provide a service that manufacturers need, and it's very valuable.
Thank you. Yes, they're very much a customer, and in our point of view, they are very much as much a customer as our distributor partners. Absolutely, especially becoming brand centric. You are treating with some very large manufacturers who are extremely the equity in their brand is something that not only drives sales but requires tender loving care as well.
I had another question about margin. This might be more related to my experience recently in terms of something that slightly commoditized, but in terms of other products that are maybe more protected through intellectual property, how is the margins in the industry evolving in recent years?
Well, I think it's really linked to the demand and availability. So, specifically without knowing a category you're talking about, but most of our margins, most of our fee for services with manufacturers are pretty similar. So the margins are really set by the manufacturer, and then we create a fee for service model to handle, I guess what a layman would call logistics and billing for that product line.
What percent of your revenue comes from that concept, logistics and billing, fee for service? More than
Oh, jeepers. I don't have that number.
3/4?
We do it for all. So we do it for all member companies.
No. My question is, you have multiple revenue streams. Among them is fee for service. Is fee for service 75% of your revenue?
No. Well below 25%, I would say.
Okay, then I really walked away with the wrong impression. What are the other 3/4?
Well, it's share. There are some product, like I said, there's multiple ways that you can put a product in our warehouse. You can sell it to us for X and we will turn around and sell it for X plus 2. Okay. You can provide it to us at a market price and we'll add a fee for service on it. We can do what's called a vendor direct model. So a company like Midmark, we don't inventory power tables or dental chairs.
Right.
So that's a whole different pricing model. So I just don't have that number, but I know it's not in excess of, it's not approaching what you're referring to.
Okay. Unless there are more questions, and there could be, there are 2 more areas I want to talk about with you. One is 10, 11 months ago when, actually, I just left London a year ago now. I squeezed in one 10X in London. It was a 1-day event. Beth and I took the kids to London and Paris, and she let me have 1 day off to work. And it was a really great event. And Joseph Anderson was like, are you going to cancel because of COVID? And I was like, what? No. Like, isn't that the Chinese thing? What? Anyhow, we really got lucky. Why did I bring that up? Because a few weeks later, when I realized the severity of this thing, and I was like, wow, we're all going to be pretty flat-footed, and I didn't know what I could do, but I figured medical devices group is pretty big, but there's got to be something. I started a weekly conference call, and I attempted, because of how many people said, hey, Joe, do you know where I can get some masks?
Yeah.
And Joe, I have masks. Do you know where I can get some customers? I attempted and ultimately roped my wife Beth in to help be a broker.
Yep.
And boy, boy, if one of these landed, I was going to be rich as Croesus and I would never have to work again. And this is going to be amazing. And we were so close and we got attorney to attorney. And then somebody was like, proof of funds, no. Let me see the SGS report, no. Is it on the ground? Yes, but no.
Yeah.
And ultimately 0.0 of those deals closed.
Yep.
And it was a lot of chasing tails and me just being mystified, like, why are so many presumably important business people wasting profound amounts of time by ultimately trying to scam their way through this thing without actually having product, without actually having money? What,
Yep.
How did they think this was going to end, and why are they wasting my time as well? I believe that for the large part that anyone like me who attempted to help bring buyers and sellers together for PPE failed, unless they were deeply grounded in the business of distribution as you are. Is that, do you have anything to say? Any comment on my experience as a surprise you?
Yeah,
and
no, not at all. In fact, I will say back in August, we actually redeployed an internal lead to handle these types of inquiries. I remember prior to doing that, on one day we had 207 inquiries for us to purchase PPE from companies and people that we have never heard of, had heard of, did have chain of custody, didn't have chain of custody, did have product, had enormous amounts of product. Yeah. So, and then that kind of collided with the fraudulent activity that we saw, that the media picked up. And I think we saw some states kind of try to create their own deals for PPE, and they got stung. And that really led to the power and the value of distribution, is that we vetted all of those opportunities. And we did bring on some new suppliers and manufacturers and distributors, but it was not done in a broker. We weren't looking for a 6-month customer. We ensured through allocation that our existing customers, and allocation's always been kind of this sketchy weird word, I'm not getting enough, but allocation actually ended up saving lives. We were able to allocate products into areas that were high number of cases, high risk, high areas. Whereas if we had just done a numerical allocation, products might have gotten to somewhere that and sat in a warehouse. So we allocated based on need as well as past ordering history. So I think what happened is too many people, it got outside the area of control, and too much fraudulent. And some of you might have seen the CNN where the guy opened up 1 million boxes of masks and they were all filled with sand. And then China got involved and closed down customs. And some of the numbers we were getting were just impossible. There was no way this broker had 300 million masks in a container. It was not impossible for them to be. And we would go back to the manufacturer, and we were able to help identify some fraudulent activity. So it became an entire scope of work for NDC to handle that influx of products and services. And then the CDC, came out with new recommendations on masks and those types of things. So I think it was just
an entire area of their website now about what they will and won't do. And it was like invalidated everything that we thought, me and my new associates thought we might do.
Yeah.
One of the people with whom, through a friend I became friendly with was the former head of FEMA.
Okay.
And he got really involved because this became a national security thing and a federal emergency thing. And James Lee Witt got on the phone and it was like, that's pretty legit, man. We're going to really make this thing happen. And no, we weren't. No.
Yeah. Well, I think there were some authentic people like yourself involved, and the goal was to provide good. But unfortunately, the fraudulent activity outweighed the ability for us to rely on that type of business relationship. what we went through to authenticate product was truly remarkable.
I wrote an article based on an interview I did with you maybe a decade ago. And I called it for medical device startups who need help. And I've subsequently written a post about anyone who's looking for a job distribution or financing, because these are the questions I get all the time. I'll get relative strangers see that I lead this group of some size and they say, hey, Joe, do you know anyone who will hire me, will sell my product, will invest in me? And they all come down to the same, what's your value proposition and why should they care? And early in my accident that became leading this group, when we befriended one another, I was like, hey, Ian, I know a guy who has product and he wants to get it distributed. What should I tell him? And you taught me that basically, yeah, distributors are good. They don't want any more product unless it meets certain criteria. And people were like, but I have a thing and it works better. And I'm like, okay, so here are the 4 things. One is you have a unique selling proposition.
Yeah.
If you have yet another one of the thing that I already have, I probably don't need to rep that as well.
Correct.
What about variety? Okay, but how much better is your thing and why would I swap out something? Okay, number 2.
That was our, I don't need 15 lines of gloves, 15 different SKUs of gloves in my warehouse.
Number 2 was I have a solid business strategy. I wrote, remember the 4 Ps? I'm pitch new products all the time, but what about the price and the place and how you're promoting them? So unless you are able to give me an entire strategy, including operations, regulatory, manufacturing, reimbursement, and so on, don't expect someone to say, oh, I'll distribute that. I need to understand that you're for real. Number 3 was, I can offer your sales team solid training. Don't just think, here's a great product. Now you put it on your shelf. Okay, I have to rep this thing. What am I going to say? Do you have solid training or not? And the 4th was, my product will do high volume and or have a healthy margin.
Correct.
It doesn't, yeah, I got other things I could be repping right now.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
There we are, 10 years ago. I conclude what's in it for me. Ultimately, the people you want help from need to know what's in it for them first. Be prepared to answer them.
You're exactly correct. So
I'm exactly correct because I just parroted what you told me.
It hasn't changed.
It hasn't
changed. Even here at NDC, we carry almost 400,000 SKUs, and one of our goals is, we're not in category management, so we don't take on any products into the warehouse without there being an end game associated with it. And generally not only a proven end game for sales, but also, like you had mentioned, training, support, marketing, all of those things.
Ian, I enjoy you so much, and you're part of the Hage family lore.
All right, I love it.
So excited. I put on a jacket today. I cut myself shaving. This was a great way to start the weekend.
Well, I appreciate it. You stay healthy, and to everyone who took the time to listen to a knucklehead like me, thank you. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to reach out to me if I can help in any way.
Ian Fardy, ladies and gentlemen. That's Fardy with a D.
D as in David.
D as in David. Ladies and gentlemen, see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, Ian.